Good Friday morning, everyone, and welcome into today's daily Bible reading for March the 1st. We made it to March. Hope that the first 2 months of the year have gone well for you. I hope that you have benefited from our first 2 months of our daily Bible reading for this year. I know I've enjoyed our work through the Psalms, and hopefully that will continue for you as well. I hope that you have been blessed by our readings together, and that they've given you something good to think about as we go throughout our weeks, as we spend time in God's Word to keep us fresh and familiar with the text and learn what is found here within the Psalter, full of so much rich theological material, some real some real thoughts about real life and difficult things that the authors of the Psalms went through, and how they kept their mind focused on God, and how that focus helped to sustain them as they went through various trials in their lives. Here we have the same type of thing. We have here a psalm in Psalm 27 that is a psalm of David, and it is titled "My Stronghold." I believe this would be classified as a psalm of confidence and trust. There are many who read the psalm and see really two very distinct halves of this psalm. They would see the first half, verses 1 through 6, as a psalm of confidence, and then the second half, verses 7 through 14, as being a psalm of lament. And these have kind of been squished together, but I don't see necessarily lament per se. I can see that, yes, but there is no sin that I see involved here, as far as I can tell. And normally that is associated with a psalm of lament, although that's not always the case. But I do think more so this would be a psalm of confidence and trust, especially once we get to the end of the psalm. I think confidence and trust just jump off the page at us and help us to put a nice bow on this psalm as we conclude. So let me go ahead and get the text up on the screen, Psalm 27, and we'll read along together here. Psalm 27 and verse number 1. Psalm 27, verse number 1. Again, this is a psalm of David. Psalm 27, verse number 1. Yahweh is my delight and my salvation. Whom should I fear? We sing a song that actually uses that line as part of its lyrics. And Yahweh is my light and my salvation. Whom should I fear? Yahweh is the stronghold of my life. Whom should I dread? When evildoers came against me to devour my flesh, my foes and my enemies stumbled and fell. Though an army deploys against me, my heart will not be afraid. Though a war breaks out against me, I will still be confident. I have asked one thing from Yahweh. It is what I desire, to dwell in the house of Yahweh all the days of my life, gazing on the beauty of Yahweh and seeking him in his temple. For he will conceal me in his shelter. In the day of adversity, he will hide me under the cover of his tent. He will set me high on a rock. Then my head will be high above my enemies around me. I will offer sacrifices in his tent. With shouts of joy, I will sing and make music to Yahweh. Yahweh, hear my voice when I call. Be gracious to me and answer me. My heart says this about you: seek his face. Yahweh, I will seek your face. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. You have been my helper. Do not leave me or abandon me, God of my salvation. Even if my father and mother abandon me, Yahweh cares for me. Because of my adversaries, show me your way, Yahweh, and lead me on a level path. Do not give me over to the will of my foes, for false witnesses rise up against me, breathing violence. I am certain that I will see Yahweh's goodness in the land of the living. Wait for Yahweh. Be strong, and let your heart be courageous. Wait for Yahweh. And that is the reading of Psalm number 27. Again, it's a Psalm of David. It is entitled "My Stronghold," and certainly we see why that is the case with the first verse here, that Yahweh is my light, my salvation. Whom should I fear? Yahweh is my stronghold, is the stronghold of my life. Whom should I dread? Here within these first three verses, especially, we have four rhetorical questions or statements. I guess two rhetorical questions, and then additional two rhetorical statements, making four statements in total that really help to lay the structure of this psalm. These questions are this: number one, whom should I fear? Number two, whom should I dread? Number 3, my heart will not be afraid. Number 4, I will still be confident. So we can see why. Confidence is one of the themes of the psalm, why I would classify it as a psalm of confidence. But what is built around these four, two questions and two statements, making 4 lines in total? Number one, the declaration that Yahweh is my light and my salvation. This is the only time that light language, the light metaphor, is used for Yahweh in the Old Testament. Of course, it is all over the place in the New Testament, speaking of Jesus, especially specifically in John chapter 1. But he's also my salvation. He is my light and my salvation. So if Yahweh is my light, if he is my guide, if he is my salvation, if my destiny is in his hands, then the question rightfully is, whom should I fear? Because no one can be stronger than Yahweh. He is greatest of all. But then the second statement is, Yahweh is the stronghold of my life. Okay, he's the rock. We've talked about that, right? Back in Psalm 18, we read that language of Yahweh being the rock. We mentioned this past Sunday. He's my strength, my rock, my fortress, my shield, the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. So if Yahweh is the stronghold of my life, then whom should I dread? If he again is Almighty God, if he is El Gabor, Almighty God, then who can overtake him? If I am hidden in him, if he is my stronghold, then whom at all should I fear? Of course, the answer is no one. So when evildoers came against me to devour my flesh, and my foes and my enemies stumbled and fell. So whenever they came against me, and I am sitting here being backed and supported by Yahweh, my light, my salvation, and my stronghold, they came against me, but they fell. They came against me, but they fell. Similar to, let's see here, similar to Psalm 25 and verse 3, that those who act treacherously will be disgraced. There's another portion I had in my mind that was along this line, or maybe I was thinking about this one. I might have just been thinking about this one. They tried, they threw everything they could at me, but because of who my support is, I withstood that. Now, verse 3, though an army deploys against me, an entire army, my heart will not be afraid. Why? Because again, Yahweh is my light, salvation, and stronghold. Though a war breaks out against me, I still will be confident. Why? Well, because Yahweh is my light, my salvation, and my stronghold. So these truths, or this truth, I should say, that Yahweh is, again, David's light, salvation, and stronghold, this truth brings about then this desire of Yahweh, this next desire beginning in verse 4. So the truth, verses 1 through 3, brings about this desire beginning in verse 4 and going through verse 6. I have asked one thing from Yahweh. It is what I desire. Now, this is not actually the only thing he asks of Yahweh, but this is the foremost of all things he asks of Yahweh. This is the desire above all others that he asks of Yahweh. And this is it, to dwell in the house of Yahweh all the days of my life, gazing on the beauty of Yahweh, seeking him in his temple, for he will conceal me again in his shelter in the day of adversity. He will hide me under the cover of his tent. He will set me high on a rock. Then my head will be high above my enemies around me. I will offer sacrifices in his tent with shouts of joy. I will sing and make music to Yahweh. So 4 things I want to identify here. Number 1 talks about wanting to be in Yahweh's house. Number 2, being in Yahweh's temple. Number 3, being in Yahweh's shelter. Number 4, being in Yahweh's tent. So these 4 words, house, temple, shelter, tent, all get back to this main idea of being in fellowship with Yahweh, permanently being in Yahweh's presence. So what does David desire more than anything else? What's the number 1 thing? It is to be in Yahweh's presence, to be in fellowship with him. Now, why? Why would he want to do that? Going back to verses 1, 2, and 3, because he is his light. He is his salvation. Yahweh is David's stronghold. And with Yahweh supporting him in this way, David then says, I can offer sacrifices and shouts of joy. I can sing and make music to Yahweh. When this is his reality, he can rejoice even though he might be facing very difficult circumstances. So then we move on then to verse number 7. Um, Again, some people think that these are two psalms, maybe written separately, that are pushed together to make this one psalm. Maybe that's the case. I don't know, but I certainly could see how this was written together. How this was written together. So in that moment, then, whenever he was going through what he was going through in the actual moment, not necessarily, um, not necessarily verses 2 and 3 that uses hyperbole. It seems, an army is deployed against me or war breaks out against me. But when he is actually in one of these moments of great testing and trial, he says, Yahweh, hear my voice when I call. Be gracious to me and answer me. My heart says this about you: seek his face. Seek his face. Yahweh, I will seek your face. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. You have been my helper. Do not leave me or abandon me, God of my salvation. So there's salvation there. There's salvation, verse number 1. So again, these are connected together. Well, what's the idea here of face? It's mentioned 3 times: the second and third line of verse number 8, and also first line of verse number 9. His heart says to seek the face of Yahweh. So Yahweh, I am seeking your face. Do not hide your face from me. What is this talking about? Well, this is talking about closeness. Again, we're going back to the fellowship and presence idea in verses 4 through 6. He wants closeness with Yahweh, and to be able to see Yahweh's face is a sign of Yahweh's presence and Yahweh's blessing. I think about Numbers chapter 6 and verses 24 through 26, the priestly prayer. The Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. It is about presence. It's about blessing. It's about closeness. It's about fellowship and presence. That's what David desires in the moment. So he expresses this almost just intellectually in verses 4, 5, and 6. This is what I want. So now it's practical, it seems, in verses 7, 8, and 9. Hear my voice. It's almost as if he's now in the moment. Hear my voice. Don't hide your face from me. Don't turn away from me. Do not leave me or abandon me, God of my salvation. You don't, out of everyone else, you cannot leave me. Even if my father and mother abandon me, verse 10. Yahweh cares for me. Yahweh's presence matters most. Yahweh's presence matters most. Now we have another set of 4 here in these verses. There's some do nots. Number 1, verse number 9, do not hide your face from me. Number 2, do not turn your servant away in anger. Number 3, do not leave me or abandon me. And then number 4, verse number 12, do not give me over to the will of my foes. So he's making this plea in verses 9 through 10 because, verse number 11, because of my adversaries. So because my adversaries, show me your way, Yahweh, and lead me on a level path. Do not give me over to the will of my foes, for false witnesses rise up against me, breathing violence. So do not abandon me. Do not turn away from me, because my enemies are against me. And he knows that even if his enemies are against him, that if God is with him and for him, then he will survive in a faith sense. He will overcome. He will be victorious. How do we know he knows that? How do we know he has confidence in this? Well, verses 13 and 14. I am certain. Wow. That's a strong phrase here. I am certain that I will see Yahweh's goodness in the land of the living. We might say that he is certain that he will see Yahweh's face. I will see Yahweh's goodness. I will see Yahweh's face in the land of the living. Again, I am certain. That is confident language, or confidence language. It is confident language, but it is confidence language. So then wait for Yahweh. Be strong and let your heart be courageous. Wait for Yahweh. Whenever we see wait, we need to understand trust. That's the idea here. Trust in Yahweh. Trust in Yahweh. Be strong. Let your heart be courageous. Trust in Yahweh. Trust in him in every way. But again, why? Why is it that he should trust in Yahweh? Well, we go back to verse number 1. Because Yahweh is my light. Yahweh is my salvation. Yahweh is the stronghold of my life. If these three things are true, then we, like David, can have absolute confidence in being able to experience the presence and blessing of seeing God's face. No, we're not going to see his literal face. No, we're not going to do that. But we are, in a figurative sense, going to see his face, going to experience his blessing, going to experience his presence. And we will, no matter if an army is deployed against us, no matter if war breaks out against us. The same the same four lines, the two questions, and the two statements, we can repeat them. Whom should I fear? Whom should I dread? My heart will not be afraid. I will still be confident in myself. No, not myself, but in God. So then we turn to God and we ask him, do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. Do not leave me or abandon me. Do not give me over to the will of my foes. And then asking that, we can have confidence. Again, we will have confidence that we can see Yahweh's goodness, that we can see his face. Then we can be strong, we can be courageous, and we can trust in the Lord, just like David expresses here in Psalm number 27. If you have any questions or comments about this psalm, please feel free to leave those in the comment section below. And I do appreciate you taking some time to read along with me on this Friday morning. Let's remember our brother and sister, Cade and Christina, they are to be wed tonight. Their wedding is this evening over in the mid-state, so please be praying for them. Many, many blessings upon them as they begin their lives together, committing themselves to one another this evening. Really excited for them and looking forward to growing closer with them as a couple here as they begin their life together here in Loudon. If you have any questions or comments, again, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and look forward to reading along with you again on Monday, and looking forward to being with everybody on Sunday morning for our Bible studies and worship assembly. Looking forward to being with you then. Oh, hold on a second. Let me think here. Let me think. 1, 2, Saturday. Tomorrow is Gabriel's birthday. Little Gaby will be turning the big number 3. So very happy birthday to Gabriel. And we certainly love the energy and the excitement that he brings to our church family. So happy birthday, Gabe. Thanks again for tuning in today. Looking forward to seeing you on Sunday and reading along with you again on Monday, Psalm number 28. Take care and God bless.